Welcome to the GodShow.us Daily. Tonight's crowd bought tickets for resolution. They wanted closure, a winner, a clean sweep. Instead, we have brought them one question that has been losing for 4 decades and still shows up to the venue. 15 wisdom traditions. One question. No comfortable exits. If you came here for answers, congratulations. You were about to get something much worse. The right ones.
This is the GodShow.us, a free daily multilingual project where one question gets answered through 15 wisdom traditions. Find today's question, ask your own, and discover your belief profile at the GodShow.us. Today's question, if the country has been arguing about the same 3 things for 40 years, at what point is continuing the argument the actual tradition? To answer honestly, you'd have to give up something specific tomorrow. The comfort of calling yourself the reasonable one. Because if the argument is a tradition now, you're not a critic of it. You're a practitioner. If the country has been arguing about the same 3 things for 40 years, when does continuing the argument become the tradition? Zen Buddhism is where I want to start because it does something almost rude. It says, you keep striking the bell so you can hear yourself exist. 40 years isn't the problem. Some monasteries manage centuries of the same noise. Then it says, put your hand flat on the bell. Feel it stop. What were you before the ringing started? That's not a political question anymore. That's a question about who benefits from the noise at a personal level. And the answer is uncomfortable because it's everyone in the room.
Judaism pushes back hard on that, though. It says the Talmud has been arguing about whether an egg laid on a festival day is edible for 2,000 years, and nobody calls that a failure. The argument is the covenant. What you inherit isn't the answer. It's the obligation to keep showing up. But it adds a knife. Are you arguing L'Shem Shamayim for the sake of heaven, or are you arguing to avoid being changed by it? That's the split. Same behavior, 2 completely different spiritual conditions.
Islam doesn't grant that ambiguity. It calls 40 years on the same 3 disputes shrine building. The argument has become the idol. It invokes the 40 years in the wilderness, not as heritage, but as consequence. There's a genuine fault line between Islam and Judaism here, and it matters. Judaism says repetition can be sacred if the intention stays alive. Islam says the intention curdled long ago and left a performance in its place. One tradition is asking about the quality of your attention. The other is questioning whether you still have any.
The Pop Culture Oracle went full reality television on this one, which honestly tracks. It's basically saying you think you're in the debate, but you're in the episode. The argument was never meant to resolve because both tribes keep tuning in, which keeps the lights on. The cynicism tradition says the same thing in cruder terms. The argument is the salary, the tenure, 40 years of mouths fed. Diogenes carried his lamp at noon, not expecting to find an honest man, just to show the crowd its own face. Those 2 read together are pretty bleak.
Existentialism is where this gets personal. Picture a slow office elevator with one other person. Both of you staring at the numbers, neither saying anything. Existentialism says the silence isn't neutral. You chose it. And a society that names its recurring argument a custom has made a choice, not stumbled into history. The bad faith isn't in the arguing. It's in the warm relief of calling the cowardice a custom. You weren't trapped by 40 years. You were born into them. And those are genuinely different things. If you're the one who sent this question, if you've been watching The Loop long enough to name it, Vedantic philosophy has the move that stings most. Consciousness doesn't inherit the argument. It's the room the argument happens in. Which means you can stop performing the weather and ask what you'd do if the noise cleared. That's tomorrow's problem. And tomorrow's episode.
And that is the final bell on tonight's card. 40 years of the same 3 arguments. Just went 15 rounds with the traditions, and nobody threw a clean knockout. The crowd that came for comfortable answers is now quietly filing out through exits labeled either Choose Change or Choose the Bell. Both doors lead to the parking lot of Personal Responsibility, and the Valak is not sympathetic. If the godshow.us is part of your daily intake, the free multilingual question a day that never flatters anyone, you can support it and subscribe at thegodshow.us. And thegodshow.us would like to thank our sponsor, Typeset.us. When generic web typography is letting you down, refine your work for free using Typeset.us. And thanks to dyorkmusic.com for our dark rock intro tune. The shrine is still standing. The hand is still on the bell. See you tomorrow for our take on the God Show's question of the day.